So, welcome back, guys, to some more movie reviews. For these reviews, uh, along with my dad, special guest star on these reviews, we will be reviewing the Rocky movies all through till Creed 2. All right? So, we will be reviewing all the Rocky movies and the first Creed movie as a lead up to the second Creed movie. Um, and the reason why we're doing this, both of us together, is because. Um, he basically brought me up on the Rocky franchise. I've loved it ever since he continuously showed them to me as a kid, um, and I'm glad he did because most of them are some very inspiring movies that teach a lot of great life lessons. So I love this franchise, but I'm pretty sure he might love it more than me because he actually did grow up with it as they were coming out. So I'm going to go first. And then he's going to go, and we're going to try and keep our thoughts as quick and short as possible to make this video as punchy as possible, I guess. Um, for me, the first thing that I noticed and really liked about this movie is that um, I loved how Philadelphia was filmed, how the movie starts off with Rocky basically walking through Philadelphia, showing us this gritty, grimy place, um, and I don't know, it just really made Philadelphia feel like a character instead of a place. And my second point kind of ties into that first point that everything does feel so real and gritty and grimy. With the costume design to the set design of its flat, the gym also, Mickey's gym. So I really like all the small things that go into making everything feel real. I know it's such a small thing to focus on, but as someone who watches films analytically, I really like how this movie is designed. Also, Sylvester Stallone's performance is so real, along with everything else looking real and feeling real. His performance is very real, um, and all of this really adds to it being an underdog story. That would be my third point. That if you ask anyone who's seen this movie, most of them will say, "I love the movie." And if you ask them why they like it, probably the answer most of the time will be that it's so relatable. We relate to Rocky. He inspires us, and a lot of the things that there are a lot of things in the movie that we can relate to, even if it's not Rocky. There's so many things in this movie that the writers, Sylvester Stallone included, have included into it that helps us relate to him and everything else in the movie. Um, the one thing that I really liked that I gotta say I didn't really relate to, but I really loved because I'm a big sap when it comes to romance in movies. It's the romance in this movie. The chemistry between Rocky and Adrian is done so well, acted so well, and written so well. And damn it, man, that kiss was awesome. That's one hell of a kiss, I have to say. So the romance isn't something that I necessarily relate to, but it's something that I really like in this movie and that I think is done really well. And also, his story, his journey in this movie has got to be the most relatable and inspiring stories in all of cinema. Now, my dad has a great point. He has a great a point to make when it comes to Rocky and his journey in this movie. And by the way, all him. He came up with it. I wrote it down. That's all I did. It was all his, all from him. What you're about to hear from him, and it's done. And I was surprised because I didn't think of it. I mean, it's not in my thoughts. What he's about to say is, I got to say, pretty interesting. So hear him out, and I'll see you in a bit.
Hi everybody. Yeah, it was. I was very similar in my attitude and understanding when the movie started that it was a very bleak uh, period in life, and it was focusing on the work industry, mostly down at the docks, and this guy was. It wasn't a. It didn't start out as a championship man going for a championship fight. He's just this guy this lowlife actually. And it was a real rags to riches movie. It started off that way, and he didn't have much of it. He had no self-worth, no self-esteem, didn't think much of himself, but he had respect. He had respect for us, and he taught that to people, like the young girl, Marie, that he takes down the road and gets her out of her little scene with her friends and that, who were, dead-end kids basically. And he just encouraged her, and he did that with everybody he came in contact with. But he never thought much of himself, and I relate to that. You see the scene in the gym with Mickey, and he has a fight. That was a lot of tension in that relationship to begin with, and he basically called him a bum. He chose to be a bum, where he could have been a good fighter, a really good fighter, a great fighter, he said. And then he goes to the interview for the fight. And talks to the promoter, and he had it all worked out, and he said what he was going to say, and he said, look, I'll be a good person to help train, stand in his corner, and he can, we can fight and stuff. But he said, no, he said, listen, he's asking you to be a contender for the world championship, and originally he said no. And then this promoter, who was very good at his craft, and promoters, a lot of people might not believe this, but they know it. They know how to talk to people. They know how to connect and communicate with people. And he did, and he said yes. And then he goes on this journey, he gets a girlfriend. He gets a life. He had no life. Before this, he had no life. He gets this girlfriend, takes all the abuse from people, and the bloke he was working for, this guy that was stirring him up about his girlfriend and all this, but he pursued it. He kept constantly going at it. I love the scene just before he goes into the fight, and he couldn't sleep. It's like a job, like the next day you can't sleep the night before you go for a job interview. And that's exactly what it was like. He was freaking out. He couldn't sleep. He went for a walk for, I think it was roughly 3 hours. And he went to the fight, and the promoter was there. And he said, what are you doing here? Go home. Get some sleep, And he said, I was just checking stuff out, and you got the shorts wrong, and all this sort of stuff. And then he comes home and he lays down just before the fight, and he says to his lady, Adrian, he says, I know I can't win. I know it. But I just want to be standing at the end of the 15 rounds, at the end of the fight, so I'll know I'm not just another bum from the neighbourhood. And he did. And in his eyes and all his corner basically was saying, and he was saying, him standing, that he was he won the fight, if you understand what I mean, even though he didn't. So that's my thoughts on the movie, and I'll just pass it back to my son.
Yeah, so really great thoughts on the movie. I really appreciate a lot that my dad brought to this review. And of course, we love the movie, and we will see you in our review for Rocky 2. I'm not going to say anything about the movie right now. Anyway, thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next Rocky review.